late at night in a CH-47 Chinook helicopter, and though it had been a relatively short ride from Jalalabad, several of the operators desperately needed to pee. So as soon as the chopper hit the floor, they raced off into the darkness to relieve themselves about 50 meters outside the perimeter of the small fire base. But the SEALs were violently interrupted by several rocket-propelled grenades slamming into the ground all around them, peppering them with shrapnel, followed by tracer rounds landing all around them. The SEALs quickly dropped to the ground and crawled into a nearby ditch while trying to button their pants back up. Meanwhile, the helicopters the SEALs just exited quickly took off and flew out of the valley. But as the second chopper took off, its rotor wash set off one of the trip flares that surrounded the base. In theory, these flares were meant to alert the base of an attack, but now the illumination of the flare took away the cover of darkness, leaving the SEALs completely exposed. But just in time, the American soldiers inside the base started hammering the enemy with mortar rounds and 50 cal machine guns, giving the operators the cover they needed to sprint away from the flare and out of the combat zone. Now taking cover in a new ditch closer to the perimeter of the base, the SEALs watched as the American heavy weapons hammered the ridgeline, sending what was left of the enemy force fleeing into the darkness. The SEALs then quickly made their way to the main gate and inside the protective wall of the outpost. The team's medic then started working on the wounded. No one was hurt bad, but shrapnel from the RPGs hit an Army Ranger as well as the team's interpreter and their assault dog. With the fighting now over, the helicopters made their way back to the base to pick up the wounded. With the wounded now all loaded up on the chopper and on their way back to base, the team leaders met with the FOB's Army Company commander to finally get to the reason the SEALs were even at this small outpost to begin with. The operators were there to hit a large compound not far from the forward operating base. Their plan was to hike about 7 kilometers to the target location, where the SEALs would then split up with an 8-man team walking along the ridge line over the compound to set up a blocking position on the uphill